Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Chagigah page 13, which continues to discuss that there are certain things that a person is not allowed to teach in large groups. We find that when it comes to the very beginning, first chapter in Sefer Yecheskel, the book of Ezekiel, we have what's called Masa Markava, which literally has to do with a chariot, which has a lot of spiritual matters, specifically looking at angels and how they were fashioned with their 6 wings, 4 wings, and all of the depths that are found there of this vision that Ezekiel has of the vision of God and the angels. This is something which is considered to be the highest level of Kabbalah, of mysticism, which, although some people have the misunderstanding that they're learning Kabbalah, the truth is this is something in which specifically has to be very careful. A person cannot just learn unless they are on a very, very high level. In fact, the Rabbeinu Hananel says over here that you should not learn Masa Markava until Ben Chamishim Shana, until you're at least 50 years old. And on this, the Talmud explains that, interestingly enough, Yecheskel describes this at great length of this vision of God that he saw. However, even though he saw it, he was not the only one that had this vision. In fact, Yeshaya, who was another prophet, he was an individual that also saw this. But interestingly enough, if you look through the entire book of Sefer Yeshaya, you do not see all of this detail mentioned. And on this, the Talmud says something profound. It says there was a major difference between Yecheskel and Yeshaya. Yecheskel was comparable to a Ben Kfar, a person who is a simple villager, that if he would somehow, some way, eventually come across a king, it would be so mind-boggling that he would actually see him, that he would just constantly be talking about all the glory and beauty of what he saw. Yeshaya lived in a completely different generation, and he was able to have a spiritual connection on an ongoing basis, much like a Ben Krach, just like a person who lived, let's say, in a big city, who often would see the king, and therefore, although, of course, still the king, but it wasn't something that people necessarily talked about as much. And this is something in which we could learn from. Very often in life, we take for granted the things that we see all the time. And only when things happen once in a while, those are the things that are considered to be impressive and things that we talk about. However, we should learn from this story that a person should also not forget and not think about all the beautiful things that are constantly in their lives.